Hello and welcome back to Project Highrise. This is your host Christopher Tarantola, and today I'm doing a review of this game, Project Highrise. This is an indie game. It was released just earlier this month, and I've gotten a chance to play it a little bit. As you can tell, I'm going to turn the volume down here, and yeah, I just wanted to give a review. Now, since this is a game that sort of revolves around architecture, and since I have a bit of experience in architecture, being that I have a couple degrees in that field, and I've worked in architecture firms, um, building buildings. A couple of buildings that I've worked on have actually been built in both the Houston and West Texas areas. So, um, I I played the original game, which was Sim Tower. I loved that game. I really have fond memories of it, though. I'll admit it's been a long time. It's been 10 to 15 years ago since I last played that game, so it's been quite a while. But this game clearly is a spiritual successor to it, kind of a reboot. It's still got that '80s vibe to it, and it does provide a lot of the same type of fun that the other game had. That being said, I am going to provide a list of negatives that I don't like about it and explain why, in the hopes that if the developers ever get a hold of this video, it'll be a piece of information they can use to better their game, and then B, just to give you an idea of whether or not you might want to buy this game. So, I've played this game for about 56 hours according to my Steam account, and I'm kind of finished. I don't want to play it anymore, and the primary reason I don't want to play it anymore is, um, for me, something that's kind of breaking the game is the services need. So, the way the game works is you need to make it offices and or apartments, and those are your like primary tenants. And these tenants, each of these tenants, depending on what size and what type of tenant you put in there, are going to have different needs. They need services, things like an office might need a courier or a copy center or commercial printers, file storage, etc. Apartments are going to need things like laundromats, handyman, plumbing, and home cleaners, or dog walkers, things like that. They not only need that, but depending on what again their size and their specialty is, they may want different retail stores specifically for the apartments. And they're going to want a variety of places to eat, restaurants, cafes, etc., and things like that. So the larger and more fancy the place, whether it's an office or an apartment, the more services they're going to need and the more variety of services they're going to need. And I think that's actually a great aspect to the game. Where it goes wrong for me is, um, it seems to me like I've built these offices out, and it took me like three or four different sections to build it out. But once I built it, I started focusing on building up my residential. And these offices have been sitting here like this for probably 20, 50 days. You don't get that kind of bank even with $70,000 coming in per day, which at one point it was as low as 24,000. And I just let it run for like 8 hours. Um, and it was basically about that big at one point where I let it run. I got like 3 million bucks, and then started building onto it and uh, let it run for some more. Um, the thing about it is, it seems like there's an ever increasing need. So even though I haven't increased the number of offices, I've not had a lot of turnover in my tenants. I've had to add, all of this, all of these services down here because even though I've provided what I would have thought as plenty, and even if I didn't provide plenty at first, you would think that at some point it would become apparent that's not enough, and I would need to add them very shortly thereafter. But we're talking 20, 50 days after these have been in place and operating. happily, all of a sudden we have services like this one that are not able to keep up with demand. So the demand is increasing even though the number and type of offices have not changed. I'm also seeing the same trend with my apartments now, and I don't like that. It actually breaks the game for me because I can no longer, with that trend of ever increasing, plan my building up to be what I want it to be. So you notice, at first if you see some of the first times I played this game, I didn't really have a good feel of how things worked, and so my planning isn't all that great. But now I'm getting to the point where okay, I understand these, if I want a luxury one bedroom apartment, it's going to have certain needs, and so I'm going to pre-plan to have those needs done right there. And I have basically so many of these apartments, are going to get um, one of these services put into place, and it's going to be put into place to where the ones that make noise are not right next to the place. I made that mistake down here. I had the noisy ones right next to the apartments, and these apartments complain about that. This area is noisy, too noisy. Well, they no longer have that complaint anymore because I figured out, okay, I need to put the laundromats away from them. These can be right next to your apartments, no big deal. Those cannot. Same thing with the dog walkers and other things. So I'm starting to figure out, and so I can pre-plan my building to be what I'd like it to be, to where it can work efficiently. I can plan. Okay, this is how I want my building to look, going all the way up. Problem is, once I get this built, and you can see I started doing the same type of thing with my offices. Problem is, once I get that figured out in 20, 50 days, well, now I'm going to have to start adding stuff down here because this wasn't enough. And it wasn't that it wasn't enough, it's that it's no longer enough. And, when you're talking about architecture, which this game is kind of emulating to some degree, that's what architecture is all about. You want to be able to say, okay, let's put everything, all the different pieces on the table, each piece being the different types of services and electricity and trash and all the stuff that you need, all the different things you can click on and place, with ploppables, if you will. Those are the different pieces, and now I want to figure out how to best organize those for it to work most effectively. Once you get that figured out, that's the game, right? And then you build the tower of your dreams, doing it that way. And maybe this configuration is not the best configuration. Maybe, if I put all these in the basement in a certain configuration, that would be a more effective use, or vice versa, or however else. And that's what playing the game is about, right? And a game like this is a sandbox game. I can't do that now because I know that if I plan it out, and even if I do it perfectly, in 50 days it's going to become obsolete, and so it's no longer going to be viable. That's A, unrealistic, and B, it's, for me, uh, game breaking to the point where I don't want to play the game anymore because I know that no matter how smart I am about how I put things, it's never going to be enough, and I'm always going to have to just throw stuff in where I can, and I don't want to have to do that if I think things through well enough. Okay, so that's the first major issue, and that's the biggest issue I have with this game. There are some other nitpicks and issues that I would have with the game. The second one is how you place. Let me uh, correct how. Yeah, there we go. Um, it's how you place utilities. So if I want to place electricity for this floor that I've built out, I can't just click here or like right click here to connect to the nearest connection. Now I have to click and drag, and you see if I don't click and drag on the floor, it's going to stop, and I can't go back and keep on going. That's a little bit annoying to me. Now, if I could just go over here and click, and it would just naturally drag by itself, or if I could just right click and it would just go zip and just do it all at once, I think that would be an improvement to the game. I don't know how difficult that would be with the coding. I don't know if they have a mod that does something like that, but that's something that I would say could be done better for the game. It's a the nitpicky thing. It's just about it becomes tedious, placing all of the utilities, and I've seen that in other games. So like the original SimCity and SimCity 2000, you had to place power lines next to every little thing, and then you fast forward all the way to City Skylines. You know, you only have to place the power lines where it is necessary to get power from like over long distances, and that's a little bit more realistic. And maybe you could say, well, that's overly simplistic, but playing the game, you want to try and strike that balance between making it easy for the player to do what they want to do quickly, and also making it somewhat reflective of reality as a simulation or a sim-like game. I think they've gone a little bit too much with the tedious here, and need to pull the pendulum back towards a game in that sense with this particular feature. A third thing to complain about is the influence after upgrade. So you can see here, I got 18,253 points of influence. If I click on that, well, I've already upgraded everything I can upgrade. And so this influence, unless I'm missing something to the game that I don't know about, there's really nothing for me to do with this influence. It's just sitting there, and it's just going to keep on accumulating and do nothing for me. I don't mind the way that they have these unlocks after you need to get influence in order to unlock these things. I think that's perfectly fine. But once you've unlocked everything, there needs to be something that you can do with this influence. And let's think about, okay, so if I have a certain amount of influence with the politicians, basically, that's the cosplay reason for having that, right? And why can't I up the prestige level by having it, by using my influence to increase my awareness around town, or increase my brand name, so to speak? Or why couldn't I get more buzz, use my influence to get media coverage to increase my buzz artificially? Why can't I do something like that? Why can't the influence help me, gain something that I don't already have for maybe less money or cheaper, much like the buzz does? The buzz, I can see that no matter how long I play the game, the buzz is always going to have a reason to it. And in fact, the longer I play the game, the more buzz I need to have. And that brings me to my next slight gripe with this. And this, I think, is simply a small balancing issue. As you can see, at this point, for me to get a campaign, if I wanted to go, it's a steal, I need 134,000 buzz, which will take me, hours at the rate that I'm currently gathering buzz to get. Being able to convert influence into buzz would be one way to solve this, or one aspect of solving it, but perhaps also somehow being able to increase the amount of buzz you get at a different rate. The larger you influence or prestige you have, maybe the more buzz you get per person. Like you get the way you get buzz is if somebody comes to one of your shops and gets what they're looking for, then you get a buzz point. And the more restaurants you have and the more people you got going to your restaurants, the more buzz you're going to get per unit of time, right? But I think it's not balanced well, because at this point now it's going to take me forever to do anything with buzz. And in some aspects, I do want a progression to where it's not 10 times easier now than it was at the beginning, but I also don't want it 10 times more difficult now than it was at the beginning. And so in that sense, I think we could do a better job there. Maintenance effectiveness. Oh, this is probably the second issue that I would say is breaking the game for me to the point where I don't want to play anymore. So I have automated renovation. So the way it is, when you get the first smaller maintenance office, and you can put up to 2 of those, like I have 1 and 2 there. They you just have to manually click on these like that, and then they'll go and renovate all the places that need to be renovated. Also, if like your elevator breaks down, they'll go and fix the elevator automatically. Secondly, if you get the larger office, and that you get that through unlocking through the influence here, um, you can put automated renovation, and once a day, basically, they will go, and all the places that need renovation at that point in the day will be put on the docket, and they will charge you whatever it costs, and just deduct that from your total here. That can be scary if you're not bringing in good cash, and so you need to watch that. But at a certain point in the game, cash no longer becomes an issue. As you can see, it just, you're ever increasing the amount of cash you have. So the point being, it doesn't seem to work. I will still, if I just leave this automate renovation with you can't put more than 2 of these, you can't put more than 2 of those. So that's the maximum amount that I could put here. And with that, I certainly don't have the largest building you could build. If we look at this extensively, I could go up to 79 stories. I'm only at 32, and it's not like I have my building all the way to the edge for those 32 stories, let alone for 79 stories. I don't know if you can build on the 80, above 80. I haven't tried, and I'm not going to because I'm done with the game. I'm starting to ramble a little bit, so let me refocus my thoughts. Maintenance effectiveness. Yes, okay, so the issue I have is I will have tenants move out because their places are not getting renovated fast enough with the amount of maintenance people I have. So I'd ask for one of 2 things, or a combination thereof. But just one of these 2 things would probably fix it. Either allow me to put as many maintenance offices as I can afford. Give it I don't mind it costing $500 per day, and I don't mind that it costs money every time I renovate a place. That makes sense to me. But I know that if I am running in real life, if I'm running an apartment complex that has 10,000 units, which would be a ridiculously large apartment complex, I'm going to have more maintenance staff than if I have an apartment complex that has 20 units, right? Or an office building, a skyscraper. Same thing. If my skyscraper is the size of the World Trade Center Twin Towers, I'm going to have a lot more maintenance staff than if I have a 5-story building in the middle of downtown Lubbock. Not to say that it's not as nice here in Lubbock, but it's a smaller building. It's not going to need as much maintenance staff to take care of it. So let me put more of these offices here. Or when I put the maximum amount of offices, if you are going to limit me, make sure that if I have this building from left to right full, from basement to bottom, and from ground floor all the way up to the 80 max, whatever the maximum number of floors is, 80 or whatever it is, and I have the most complex configuration you can conceive of places that need to be maintenance, that these guys will be able to cover that in the most complex, largest fashion possible. I'm nowhere near that right now, and it's already struggling to keep up. To me, that's something that is just broken. That's not a good feature. I can't do anything to fix that as the player. If it's like, well, you need to configure these better, or, well, you need to just place more of these maintenance offices, that would at least allow, put the bonus back on the player and give the power back to the player that, hey, I see this as a problem. This is a problem I need to problem solve, so I need to place these more, or whatever I want to do to fix that problem. Okay, the rate of buzz, and I've already talked about that. Service expectations true. So this is probably the most nitpicky thing I have to say about it as a gripe. If I click on this, or no, I can't even click on. So I can't click on an existing one. It'd be nice to click on an existing office or apartment and be able to say, okay, what are the needs of this type of a place, so that I could just see that. But what I have to do now is I have to go to the apartment, I have to place it in an empty space, and if I don't have empty space, then I'm SOL. So I have to have empty space to be able to place it first, and then I can go and I then go to the type that I want to place it, and then I have to go there. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I think showing for offices is going to be more appropriate. So let's do offices. So I click on the office, then I have to go to the type of office I want to place, and then I have to go to the actual tenant that wants to move in, and only then can I see, okay, expects courier, copy, office supply, storage, janitorial, and that is actually exactly where you want to see that information, but it's not the only place you want to see it. So it's good that it's there, but I also want to be able to have maybe a button right here where I can click on that, and it will pull up like a little text tree, so to speak, where I can see although like first of all, if I can't do lofts yet because I'm earlier in the game, then that's maybe grayed out, but I can still click on the lofts and see what services they're going to require. And likewise with the everything else, so I can just see, okay, this is a one bedroom. These are the different types of one bedrooms you can get, and these are the different expectations you're going to have for that one bedroom. Not only that, but I would suggest, with the way they did it with electricity and utilities, basically all the utilities is, um, if I have a unit that needs electricity, I know that as long as I have a connection there, that unit is going to take 1 unit of electricity, whatever that unit happens to be. I don't know if they're considered that kilowatt hours or what, but it just says 150, and so it's a blank unit, and that's fine. It doesn't have to have kilowatt hours on there, but if I have one electricity and a 1 unit taking it, then that's going to be 1 unit of electricity. So I can plan very easily before I build my stuff how much electricity I should have in my game. And you can see here, I love that they show the total production 900, total demand 903. So actually, that should not be 100%. That should be 100 and point whatever, because I'm over capacity, right? And so I need to build more electricity clearly here. But the point of it is, I can plan that ahead if I think it through. I can't do that for my services because I have no clue, and there's no way to figure out that, okay, if I have this many small offices that require copy services, then I need this many um, uh, copy service centers. Um, and again, that goes back to my very first gripe. In fact, it seems to increase with time. I would prefer it to be something where, even if it's not listed outright, just like with the electricity or any of the other utilities, I know that one of these units means if I need for every 5 of these types of units, I need one of these office copy centers, and for every 2 of these, or whatever the numbers is to balance it out, and so that way I can figure it out. Now, maybe the way they do the utilities is a little bit overly simplistic in that whether you have the fanciest loft or the smallest office, they're all going to take only 1 unit of electricity or 1 unit of water, whatever it may be. Maybe that the larger it is, the more it takes, but it's always the same amount, and so you can figure it out with time in the game. If not, if not, have it just explicitly listed as part of the expectation. So when you click on this, you click on that, and you go over here. And in addition to all the information it's showing you here, when it says it needs an electrical line, it can also say expects courier services, and it's going to say it can have in parentheses or whatever 5 units, and in electricity, if it needs more electricity, it can say 5 units of electricity, whatever it is. I think that would be a better way to do that system, to make the game more consistent, less frustrating, and quite frankly, to the point where I could play it again without being overly frustrated. That's a lot of gripes, I know, and I know this is an indie game, and that's not to take away from what they've done here. It is a wonderful game. It did give me about 54 hours again of gameplay, uh, and I enjoyed that gameplay, but at some level, I wish it could be more, and I know it can be more. It's a great foundation and even first couple stories, but to get a true skyscraper of a game, and I know I'm throwing a bunch of puns in there, um, I think you need to have some better structural engineering going up into the way the game is played. It's just some slight modifications. I'm sure that uh, people could do mods, and that might fix the game just by going into the mods. I don't know how easy it is to I don't do any of the mods. I don't code. I don't know any of that stuff. So I don't know how easy it's going to be to say, you know what, let's change the system of how things are rewarded, how the service is required per thing. I don't know how easy or difficult that's going to be. Things they got right in this game. They got a lot right. In fact, pretty much everything else about this game that I can see, they got right. The fact that they have mod support is a wonderful thing. The best games out there tend to have mod support because, particularly for indie developers, I know they only have so much time to put this stuff in there, and so making it mod compatible, the stuff that you can't put in there, modders can, and it'll make your game better and last a lot longer. I mean, SimCity uh, 4, SimCity 4 lasted for over a decade, which is a long time for a game. And there's still people playing that game, even though there are new city sims out there, because um, the modding community was so large, and it was so easy to mod that game that everything that you could want that game to be, at some level, you could make the game be what you want it to be. Likewise with Kerbal Space Program, that game, I can see when my son, who's 4 years old now, when he is in high school, he's going to be playing that same Kerbal Space Program because, number one, the developers squad continually update that game and create, and it's not just like they give some token bug fixes. I mean, yes, they do the bug fixes, but they're at 1.1 now, and they're about to go to 1.2. And they are completely changing the way the game works by adding features such as the ComNet and the CurbNet and the way that wheels work and all that kind of stuff. And I only see that being continued as far as what their intentions are. And beyond that, even if they didn't have that continuing support, it is so mod friendly that a lot of those features are actually taken from the modding that has already occurred. And yes, Squad took it in and they're doing it their own version, so it's not like they're just copying the code from the modder. But some of the best things that they've added to the game after their 1.0 release at some point were mods that people had put into the game. So that is, there's a nice feedback loop there as well. And even if they never developed that game any further, the modding community could help develop it such that anything that you want Kerbal Space Program to be, you can make it that way. There's mods out there that you can make a real solar system with the Earth and Saturn and the whole solar system that we have, and you can put in the rocket in motors that are real to life, and the fuel systems and all that stuff, which it's a little bit beyond my personal capability, but there are a lot of people out there that are actual rocket scientists or know enough about it that they can make as realistic as they want it to be, and the sky's the limit with what you can do there. Likewise with this game, I see that the fact that they have a modding community is a great thing. Also, the way they have offices and apartments requiring certain services, and then not only requiring certain services, but the fact that you have all these services has people associated with them, and those people also need to eat, and these people want to eat, and they're going to want certain types of restaurants. Some want their coffee, some want their gourmet restaurants, all that kind of stuff. That progression and all the work that they put into that is very clear, and I think is well done. It does need to go further with, like I've already mentioned, to the point of exhaustion and ad nauseum is what I'm trying to think of. But they did a really good job with that. They did a good job with how you plop things. Again, likewise with the putting down the utilities, building out your floors, I think could be done slightly better. But how you plop down the tenants and all that stuff, I think works really well. Most things are really easy to figure out what's wrong. So, if I want to go here and population feedback and see, okay, I'd like to buy a cup of coffee, but where? That tells me, okay, I need more cafes. Now, the problem is I've given enough cafes, and then at some point it's just never going to be enough because there's an ever increasing demand for it. I don't like that aspect of it, but at least I know. I like the fact that I can figure out that cafes is what I'm lacking, or having a lunch spot or having a dinner spot is what I'm lacking, and that they give me the tools I need to say, okay, so I need to put more dinner spots. So I need to go here, and if I go here, I can see it serves lunch and dinner versus a diner which serves breakfast and lunch. So if I put a diner in, and I know people are looking for dinner, then I'm not doing the right thing. I like that they give you the tools you need to be able to solve the problems that they throw at you. Uh, it's not that they shouldn't be throwing problems at you. Absolutely, that's what makes a game interesting. But they also should give you the tools you need to be able to solve them. The way that they do the feedback, if I just let this play here, you can see, okay, there's my buzzer. Oh, I can see there are a lot of people that are unhappy here. This building needs maintenance. That's a problem for them. They need maintenance. So I can see, I wish I can get some coffee. I can see what my problems are so that I can fix them. And it's really easy to see what's going on where. I can see a lot of stuff is going on right here, so I need to focus on that and figure out, okay, yeah, everybody's just wanting coffee right now. Everybody's a coffee nut, which I don't drink coffee, so I don't understand that. I also like how they put these little zots on here so that you can know, okay, I need a more handyman. I don't have to search far and wide to figure out what my problem is. I can see right here and now, I need more handyman. And also, when you go into here, if I didn't see these zots, it's present because all I have to do is look at this nice little bold white and know that I need more handyman. And I know that I don't need plumbers because there is no white bold. I don't have to read it. I can just visually see it relatively quickly by looking, oh, but I need more housekeeping as well. I don't like that I need more housekeeping right now. I should already have enough. But the fact that I know what I need very easily, again, a nice little detail that they've done well. And I could go on and on and on about all the good stuff, which is why I focused on the bad stuff. Not because there's so much bad stuff, but simply because that list is much smaller than all the things they got right. So I don't want this to be seen as, oh, this game sucks, you should never buy it. Absolutely, it's worth the amount of money I paid for the game. No doubt about that. But my value could be extended way further with some tweaks to the game, the tweaks to the gameplay that I've already discussed. So, out of 5 stars, I'd give this 2.5, 3 stars, because at some point I no longer want to play the game. If they fix these things, it could very easily go up to 4 and 5 stars with some of those little tweaks. That's my review. I hope it was informative. I hope it wasn't too much of a rant and a ramble. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to y'all later.